Welcome to Frank and Upfront. I am your host, Mr. Franklin. A very special welcome to all of you joining me here on this podcast. I invite you to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Today's topic: the purpose of envy. Let's get into it, shall we? Envy can be a very destructive emotion. The definition of envy is to actively seek the destruction of another person based on what they have that you don't have. Or at least that's one definition of it. Because there are actually two types of envy. Envy can be a very negative thing to experience. Envy can ruin lives and ruin friendships and relationships and family life. Envy can be the reason why two good friends are no longer talking. Envy can be the reason why someone has acted out of malice towards someone else when in fact that person did not offend the person feeling envy in the first place. That person's feelings would be all in their head. Envy can make you imagine things and offend someone who did not offend you, is my point. If not tamed and kept under control, envy can wreak havoc in our lives. But what is the purpose of it? Can you control envy? Can you control the feelings of envy? I mean, if you feel those feelings, you can try and ignore them and pretend that they're not there, hoping they go away. But as I'm sure we now know, the more you ignore something is the more it's going to come knocking on your door. So then envy, it would seem to me, can't be controlled. It cannot be controlled to the extent that you can make it go away, but you can tame it if you understand the purpose of it and harness its power. Envy can make you do some very things. Envy can make you do things that are very out of character for you. Envy can make you unrecognizable to the people who thought they knew you best. Don't let envy control you. You control envy. With that said, let's go into the two different types of envy. You have positive envy and negative envy. Positive envy is constructive envy. Constructive envy is when you allow yourself to feel the envy. Try to find out what those feelings are trying to teach you about life. Most likely it's trying to get your attention to the fact that there's a gaping hole in your life that needs to be filled. In that case, envy should inspire you to do whatever it takes to fulfill that which you desire, to the extent that it does not interfere with someone else's life. The moment envy, your feelings of envy, interferes with someone else's life, it becomes toxic. It becomes toxic envy. That is not the purpose that envy is supposed to serve in one's life. Envy is supposed to alert you to the fact that there's something missing in your life, to compel you to work on it, as opposed to trying to tear others down. That's not the purpose of envy. That is corrupt. That is a very corrupt use of envy. It's an abuse of envy. What people commonly refer to as envy is an abuse of envy, a misuse of envy, a mismanagement of envy. But there are people who are not mature enough to handle envy correctly, and I recognize that to be true. My advice to those people: whenever you feel compelled to destroy someone's life or tear someone else down based on the way you feel, based on something that's lacking from your life, every single time that feeling or desire come over you to destroy someone's life, retrain your mind to think to yourself, what can I do to improve my situation without affecting someone else's life? Try to retrain your mind to think that way, think positively, until it becomes your second nature. Some people are irredeemable, some people are narcissistic, I understand that. Those people cannot be helped, as I have said previously on this very program. The only thing you can do with those people is to go complete no contact. I am talking about people who have redeemable qualities. How to retrain your mind to handle envy in a responsible manner. How to retrain your mind to use envy in a positive, constructive light that will be to your benefit. My second advice to those people trying to retrain their mind, the people with the will to do so: if you destroy someone else's life, you might be momentarily satisfied in the moment, but it will not last. The very next day, you wake up miserable again as you once were. What have you truly accomplished? Except that now two people are miserable and angry and hate each other. When your feelings of misery and worthlessness would have only lasted for so long. All emotions are temporary. They soon enough disappear. And when they disappear and you realize how foolish it was for feeling the way you felt, looking back in hindsight, you don't want to look back on a trail of death and destruction in your wake and realize that you have caused irreparable damage to someone's life and to your relationship with that person because of your ego. That's the worst thing you would want, and the very last thing anybody with any kind of redeemable quality would want. It will not make you feel better. It will only make you feel worse. Far worse than you've ever felt before. And the feelings will linger longer as you try to use envy a corrupt use of envy and the destruction of someone else's life as a means of distraction. The more you distract yourself from something that's bothering you, the more it comes knocking at your door. The feelings will only linger longer. Finding entertainment in the destruction of someone else's life will only make you feel worse and make the feelings linger for longer. If that doesn't compel you to start learning, or to at the very least retrain your mind how to handle feelings of envy in a responsible, constructive manner, if that doesn't make you change, nothing else will. So my two advices to you, my two main advice. Advice number one: every time you think negative thoughts, try to replace those thoughts with positive thoughts. If that doesn't work, the pain of allowing your feelings to linger from trying to distract with the entertainment and amusement of someone else's destruction of life most certainly will. Envy serves to compel you to uplift your life and pursue your maximum potential. It was never intended to be abused and misused and used to destroy someone's life. Feelings of envy is perfectly normal. The only abnormal aspect of it is the misuse and the abuse of it. The part where you have toxic envy, where you seek the destruction of the lives of one who you feel may have more than you. And what makes envy all the more irrational is that you may have more than them. You may have more wealth and power than them, but you still envy them for some reason. Nothing makes envy more irrational than the envy you feel for someone who has less than you. And you're trying to bring them down with the very little that they have. You're still trying to bring them down and cut them off from opportunities to uplift and improve their lives. That level of irrationality borders on absolute insanity. That is where the crazy making comes in. That is absolutely crazy. Envying those who have less than you, stealing from them that they have even less, and then demanding their worship, when in fact the only thing that would make you worthy of respect is if you were helping them up, seeing as how you're in a position of power and you have resources at your disposal. Use those resources to help those people up. Encourage them, motivate them. They move up, you move up. They win, you win. That's a real boss. If your boss is doing that, he's not a boss. If your boss is not doing that, he's not a boss, and he's not deserving your respect or worship. That person feels entitled. That is the kind of narcissism that toxic envy breeds, and why one ought not allow feelings of envy that should be occurring naturally to escalate to a toxic and narcissistic level. The moment you feel yourself kind of drifting in the wrong direction insofar as your handling of envy is concerned, take a stop stop what you're doing and take a stock of yourself. And do what it takes to stay grounded in who you are. Don't let this emotion, this temporary, very low vibrational emotion, don't let it drag you out of character and make you into somebody you don't even recognize. For what is a man to gain the world and lose himself in the process? This is how people lose themselves in the process. By allowing envy to turn them into somebody that they're not. Envy should only serve to compel you to improve your life without being a nuisance or inconvenience to other people's lives, and it should only be temporary. When it serves its purpose, it's supposed to disappear and leave you and depart from you, so that you can go on living your life uninterruptedly. It's really only supposed to be temporary. It's not supposed to be chronic. It's not supposed to take over. Envy becomes toxic when people feed into it. They feed into it, they allow it to fester and take over their whole entire being. And that's how they allow themselves to be possessed by the Jezebel spirit. Because they were not strong enough to keep their feelings of envy in check, use it for the right purpose, handle their feelings of envy properly, allow it to serve its purpose temporarily and not to outlive its usefulness. They were not strong enough. You have to be strong enough. Otherwise, envy will fester, it will linger, it will consume you, take over your entire being, and it will fall onto even your children. It will become a generational curse. Envy will become a generational curse. Envy will become a familiar spirit that latches onto your lineage until the next miracle baby, otherwise known as the scapegoat of the black sheep, so-called. I keep telling you, don't accept that label. Until the next miracle baby is born, that envy will become a familiar spirit and latch on to all of your future lineage until that miracle baby is born to break the generational curse. And that feeling of envy will become your generational curse. And you don't want that to happen. That should be your very third incentive for wanting to shake off chronic and toxic feelings of envy and handle it properly, that it may serve its purpose, and then dissipate and depart from you, so you can go on living life unimpedingly. Next week's topic: germophobia, the coronavirus, and cooking your own food. I hope you'll join me then. I am Mr. Franklin. This has been Franklin Up Front. Good night.